I remember not too long ago was an article that came out that said the future does not need you, meaning humans. The future does not need you. Red alert. Red alert. The future does not need you. And now they're mocking us, man. It's just. I'm gonna play a video of this dude and his company, Artisan, put up this billboard saying that don't hire humans. He said it was a way to garner attention because he needed to stand out, right, from others, because there's so much advertising in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and all that stuff. So he wanted to be provocative and say, don't hire humans. It's a golf, right? So he got what he wanted. I'm a little under the weather tonight, guys. I'm not gonna go super long. I got Guard Goldsmith in the second half of the show, and I'm gonna cough. I'll try to hit the cough button, but it's not gonna work all the time. So I saw this, and it weaves right into everything that's going on here with us today, because this government has been using illegal immigration to scare the crap out of every single American in so many different ways. They're criminals, they're this, they're that, but they're taking your jobs. They're taking your jobs is what they're saying. They're taking your jobs. And we've been saying it for quite some time here on America Unplugged and Gorilla Underground to Infinite Fringe, whatever I've been involved in. You don't need to fear the immigrants taking your jobs. It's the artificial intelligence that you need to fear. And we're going to get into how this weaves into everything else, right? It's going to flow into everything else. I'm going to play this video of this guy scaring the crap out of people. Even Bernie Sanders got involved, and he started saying, hey, listen, we need to keep an eye on this. And he's absolutely right. We need to figure this out. We need to look at this. We need to take these things seriously. For some reason, a lot of people nowadays see these things, warnings, and they decide to look the other way. I don't understand it. Oh, the guy's just being funny. He's just being provocative, trying to get people to pay attention to his brand. Or Steve Bannon, he doesn't really mean that Trump is going to run again. And then there's the technicalities that have been all over the place. He can't run again. Of course, maybe he can't run again officially, Donald Trump, but he can sure as hell try to stay because he did it once before. So that's what we need to look forward to in 2028 is Donald Trump or someone out of the MAGA realm attempting to remain in office no matter what. Let me play this. Maybe I'll stretch it out a little more. Let some more people come into to viewing. So I want everybody to be able to see this. If people come as the hours progress, so not everybody's going to be able to see, but I want more people to see it. The fact of the matter is, it's not the illegal immigrants you should be fearing as far as your economics, as far as your jobs. The people you should be fearing, or what you should be fearing, is the artificial intelligence. It's going to replace the majority of people. At this point in time, they are selling it as a tool that will assist. And I'm sure it will do that in some cases. But as the artificial intelligence progresses and as it gets better and as it learns, because every time we feed it, it learns more. It will eat into more and more of what it is we do. And this could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It could be both. We'll be out of jobs. So what do? We become quote unquote useless eaters. These people already see us as that. This is their quote, not mine. They see us as useless eaters, people that cannot produce. So if we don't have jobs, then what do? Then we have to, that's where the universal basic income comes in. Elon Musk has talked about this extensively. And then everybody becomes dependent on the government, right? And we don't want that. Not in that fashion anyway. So what happens then? We get a couple of $1,000s a month, and we're able to eat, and I guess we stay home. There have to be some. There are going to be strings attached. They're not just going to give you this stuff, right? Has to be something involved. You guys fear socialism. Everybody's freaking crying about Zoran Mamdani, who's a democratic socialist. Well, wait till the AI takes over. All of you are going to be socialist by force. Where is my UBI? Actually, you know what? That reminds me. Where's my UBI? But where is my Doge check? We got to set up the counter here. Where's my Doge check? I want my Doge check. Please get me my Doge check as soon as possible. I am hungry. I want stuff to buy. Christmas is coming up. Thanksgiving is coming up. I'd like my $7,000. And I'm sure everybody else would too. So UBI is something we need to look forward to with all of this. But my guy Josh Corey told me once, maybe it's a good thing. And I didn't look at it that way at all up until he presented the idea. He was like, maybe this takes us out of the cycle of working, right? The perpetual cycle. You go to work, come back home, go to sleep, go back, go to work. And this is what you do, and you do it over and over again. And this takes us out of that and actually gives time back to the people. And when there's time and when there's necessity, innovation comes out of that. And maybe we'll figure out a way to become something different without having to work 24/7. And I thought that was pretty dope. You know, I thought that was a really cool idea. Don't know if that's the way it'll go down, but there is obviously room for that, right? Let's play this. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was all over the place this weekend. And then we're going to get into Christian nationalism, because Trump is and Pete Hegseth are actively, playing the drums of war for Nigeria, Venezuela. Now, I mean, I thought this guy was supposed to be the peace president, and now we're just going to war with everybody. So we're gonna go to war with Nigeria for persecuting Christians, according to him. We'll take a look at that in a little bit, and then Guard's gonna come in and we'll talk about immigration with Guard and current events, and then we'll pack it up for the week. All right, let's play this. I want you guys to see this news piece.
Well, the Billboard campaign telling people to stop hiring humans has gone viral. We've covered the story over the months. And Jasper Carmichael Jack is the co-founder of Artisan, which is the company behind that Billboard campaign. He spoke to a panel about his AI startups campaign. He says the whole advertising effort was meant to be just something that triggered and provoked shock among people who were looking at it. The billboard pointed to a fictitious company that was out to use AI to take away human jobs. Artisan is an AI company. They use technology to help businesses automate their systems.
Now, you can't read I want to read you one line. It says, these billboards aren't hype, they're promise. Humans are weak, kind of gross, and wildly inefficient.
Right.
This is triggering.
And so you can see why people were triggered by that. Yeah, they did garner a lot of national attention. Hey, even Senator Bernie Sanders took to social media to criticize it. But the CEO says that was the point. They were hoping to drive traffic to Artisan, their website. It worked.
Mission accomplished.
Well, humans are weak, and they're kind of dirty too. And that's what, maybe this guy doesn't think that for sure, right? Maybe this guy was really trying to do some shock value thing here. But other people that run giant companies see us as a liability and as an unnecessary expense because they don't want to pay our salaries. They don't want to pay our health insurance. That's for sure. They don't want to. It's called capitalism for a reason. We've been brainwashed here in the United States to believe that that's the only way. I got to be capitalist. I'm a capitalist. Oh no, socialism. Oh no. What do you mean, a system that actually benefits me? No. I don't want anything to do with that. We want capitalism, where there has to be profit made in order for the system to continue. And in order to make a profit, that means you will never get paid what you deserve. You never get paid for the amount of work that you actually do. They will always get over on you. Always. It's just the way the system works. Not to say that there aren't some things about capitalism that are good. We need to adjust, I think, our thinking about all of this. What's good about capitalism? What's good about socialism? What's good about any economic system? And bring them in. We can't remain in these boxes that they've put us in on purpose. These boxes only serve to hold us back and to keep us ignorant. We need to break out of it and pick and choose from any box that we want, as long as it benefits us. Right now, the disproportional gap between rich and poor has never been bigger, and it continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. So what's the next step for capitalism? What is the next step? Well, it's obviously artificial intelligence. And they're telling you, now they've told you for quite some time, this is not a new idea. This is not a new notion. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that, guys. This notion is not new, right? It is not a new thing, right? You will be replaced by an AI at some point. And everybody talks about, oh, you got to go into a trade. Like somehow that's immune to the situation. You think they're not going to build a robot to be a plumber? You think they're not going to do that? An electrician. These are all great trades. And they're necessary in a society where humans still do the jobs. Right? So right now, and for some time, hopefully, they'll still be in need, right? These are still professions that we will need. But to think that they're bulletproof to AI, I think is fooling yourself. Because they're going to come up with ways to replace you at every job because they don't want to pay for this stuff. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for your health care. Look what's going on right now. It's a battle for health care. And the government is shut down as a result of it. It's either that or the Epstein files or both. Right. Just because they want to get rid of Medicaid, they want to get rid of Medicare. They don't want you to have health care. And some people, for some reason, subscribe to the notion that health care shouldn't be a right for everyone, that it is a privilege of some sort, right? I don't subscribe to that notion. It doesn't make sense to me. It's never made sense to me. Everyone on the planet deserves quality health care. And as a civilized society, if that's what we claim to be, as a species, if we're moving forward and growing into optimal human, that empathy should be a part of it, and us helping should be a part of it, and everybody having access to this healthcare should be a part of it, in my personal opinion. We need that. But there are people that I don't know why. They just say, no, it's not a healthcare, it's not a right, it's a privilege. And I don't know. I don't get it. Sure, everybody should be compensated for what they do. That's not what I'm saying. They should be doctors should be compensated. But healthcare should be a right for everyone. Well, these corporations don't give a damn about your healthcare. They don't give a damn about you. We've known this for quite some time. Some of them care a little more than others. Some of them try to a degree, right? If you've worked in corporate America, you know that they try to make your, in some ones, in the better ones, they try to make your working environment as best as possible, so you won't leave, of course, right? They want to provide you with food and ergonomic desks, right, and chairs and all this other stuff to keep you as comfortable as possible while you're working, right? Now they want to eliminate, working from home. A lot of people liked that, but they want to get rid of that. That's Trump and Hegseth and all these people said that you shouldn't work from home. You should come back and work in an office for some reason. The fact of the matter is they want to get as much out of you as possible. And once they're done with that, they're just going to move on to the AI. Fast food restaurants have already graduated to that point, right? There are medical doctors that are AI. There are judges and lawyers that are AI, right? They even have AI deities. They have AI gods now that you can worship. You think I'm playing? Go look it up, or we'll play it here next week. I didn't pull it up. I didn't queue a lot of things up for today. I would have canceled if I didn't book guard. I just would have canceled for today because I'm really not feeling up to it. But go look it up. They have AI gods at this point. They have AIs that you can speak to romantically. Now, you can have a dirty talk session with an AI if you want. I know people that watch movies with their AI. They sit down and watch a movie and turn on the AI and dialogue with the AI while they're watching a movie. And the AI responds, and about the movie. They're knowledgeable about it, And the more you do it, the more aware the AI becomes of what you like, what you don't like, who you are, what makes you tick. And they will replace human interaction. In large part, we're already seeing it with social media. And the younger generations, as it's been reported, isn't interested in meeting up with people, and having relationships. Sex is, they don't even want to have sex. Some of them, they're cool staying home and sitting in front of their computer and immersing themselves in this life. I can't relate, because I'm from a different generation, but this is what people are doing now. So if we're seeing it now, imagine when it grows to a point, and it's getting better every day, when it grows to a point that it's indistinguishable from a human. We are, it's an incredible tool that we can use for a lot of things. We can use for good, but I just don't believe, and I could change my mind on this, and I could be totally wrong, but I just don't believe that humanity is ready to yield such a responsibility. I think we're too immature as a species to handle the fire that is artificial intelligence. I think we're going to burn down the forest with it and totally lose ourselves to the AI. We're going to need to start passing laws very soon There are people in Japan already marrying their AI robots. And you know what that's going to lead to? And listen, man, you want to marry a robot? Go ahead, man. You have one life. That's the way you want to spend it. Be my guest. But that's going to lead to, the only thing that's going to lead to is less humans on the planet. Birth rates are going to fall because no one's having sex. I mean, the robot can't produce a baby, at least not yet. You know, until they figure out what the hell they're going to do with that. But this is where we are with this. And now we have these dystopian 1984 style billboards all over the place saying, hey, don't hire humans. Don't hire them. They're a liability. They're risky. They're expensive. They'll fall apart. And then you're going to have to pay to replace them. You're going to have to pay to keep them in good shape. You don't want that. So much for those illegal immigrants, right? That were taking your jobs. Because Donald Trump doesn't have any intentions of stopping these AI companies from doing what they do. In fact, he's going to enable it as long as they look what he's doing with Palantir. You know, so it's that we can't expect that to stop under any of these people, to be honest. Yeah, so we have to rise up and take back our rights, and we have to do it right now. There's no time. We have to do it right now, and we have to afterwards. We have to figure out what those rights are, and we can go back and forth on healthcare and all this other stuff. But I mean, we need to start taking care of humanity for humans. That's what we need to start doing. And I feel like we're not doing that. We're going over to war in Nigeria now, in Venezuela. We'll get into this. I don't know how this merges with Christian nationalism. Peter Thiel, your friend and mine, PayPal Mafia and Palantir, has been giving speeches on the Antichrist. It's for this company. I forget the name of the company. Acts 412, I think, is the name of the company. And this company seeks to merge tech billionaires with Christianity. Let me look it up so I can get it for you. So yeah, that's what it seeks to do. And I don't know where this marriage goes. Maybe AI becomes the God. I don't know. I'm not sure. But they're actively trying to do that. And Peter Thiel is giving these talks, which we should go over at some point here on the show. We should really do that. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, well, he's talking about the Antichrist. And then people are saying that Trump is actively the Antichrist. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I do know. I don't think he's the Antichrist. But he's certainly acting like one, you know. And there's a lot of people that are concerned, and rightfully so. He's checking off a lot of boxes, you know, at the very least. But Peter Thiel, who is, you know, the king of Palantir, the sorcerer's ball that you look into and it tells you everything, you know, about you and everyone else, right? That's what he named his company after. And they're actively talking with brass, the Christian brass, the Christian nationalist brass, to try to figure out a way to merge the two. Something to that effect. Acts 4:12, I think it is. Maybe during the break, I'll look it up. That way I can pull it up and I can show you guys. But maybe we should get on it. I'll ask Brissom to come up with something, or maybe I'll reach out to some other people, but to see what the deal is here and what they're, and we can only speculate on such things right now, but to see what the end game of some of this is. Because this administration or regime is steeped in Christian nationalism. I think it's a part of There are two pillars that I can think of right now that are responsible for propelling Donald Trump and this regime into the presidency, and that's conspiracy theory, and Christian nationalism. Those are the two pillars of MAGA, and I mean of the MAGA base. They're either hardcore conspiracy theorists of the ilk of around 2016, 2017, and 2020 that fell into the traps of a QAnon, of a Pizzagate, and so on and so forth, right? Wayfair, stuff like that. And then they're the Christian nationalists, who in turn mixed in with the conspiracy theorists, right? Now they believe all of this stuff. They believe the 2020 election was rigged with no evidence, but they don't want to let go of that. They don't want to let go of that thought. They believe in the white hats. They believe that Donald Trump has taken down the deep state, yet it still exists when it's convenient. I don't understand it. There's a lot of things about the cult that I don't understand. Christian nationalism, I've seen it in my own life take over people that were apolitical or did not know anything about politics and suck them in because of the merger between the politics and God. This is what they've done. This is what Christian nationalism is. And it's not good. You know, I got a clip here that I want to play real quick of a noted Christian nationalist that is, he's given credit. His name is Doug Wilson. He's given credit for being the father of this in a way. He was just interviewed a couple of weeks ago for the Wall Street Journal. Pete Hegseth is intimately involved with this guy. Let's listen to what this dude has to say about Christian nationalism for those of you who may not know, for those of you that are not aware. Hold on for a second. I want to say what's up to the people. What's up to everybody on X? And what's up to everybody on at YouTube over there? We got 9 people on YouTube. What's up? We need to subscribe over there on my route to 100 subscribers. I never tweeted out the link. I will. I'll do it. Dustin Helm is in the chat. What's up, my guy? How are you? We've read the documents. Acts 17. He covered it. John has covered it several times, apparently. Tell me what this is. What the end game is. I've seen it. I know that you can go to their website. It's an official thing, and they're going after tech people in particular. What do you think the end game is, John? Ashley's in the chat. What's up, Ash? How you doing? It's good to see you. Isaiah's in the chat. What's up, my guy? How are you? Good to see you. Twisted, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Trump is doing student debt relief, and now everybody's cool with it. I remember when I was saying, I was like, well, what's up with my student debt relief? Oh, no, Billy, nobody wants to pay for your debt. We shouldn't have to pay for your debt. If you got yourself in debt, you should have to pay for it. But now everybody's like, oh, yeah, look at what Trump is doing. Look at what he's doing with your debt. Look at what he's doing. It's fantastic. You know, everybody wants to talk about that now. Kill 88, how are you? Greetings to you. Good to see you here. All right. Let's play this guy, Doug. Hold on for a second. He said something else. We've read the documents. Here we go. He says they are pushing Thiel's false antichrist lectures, push techno-optimism and acceleration. I agree with the second half of that. Yeah, and I agree with the first half of it too. They're probably bullshit. I haven't heard them myself, but maybe I should. All right, let's play what this guy has to say. Let's listen to what Christian nationalism is, and I'm sure, and we're gonna cover it heavily here on Guerrilla Underground moving forward. We're gonna talk about it. It's very important, and I'm sure you guys have somebody in your life that this affects 100%. That have been sucked in to MAGA or sucked into these beliefs because they feel that Donald Trump is a vessel from God, being used by God, by the Christian God, to invoke change in the world. Anyway, let's go.
Short form definition of Christian nationalism. America should stop making God angry.
For Pastor Doug Wilson,
this is a big problem. This is a big problem. Hold on, let me rewind that.
God is angry with us. And that's my short form definition of Christian nationalism. America should stop making God angry.
You know, who can accurately say that we're making God angry, or what we're doing is making God angry, and who's doing what? Who's going to be the person to designate that? And that's my big problem with all of this. You know, the right, the far right, the MAGA right, always complained that the left was jamming their beliefs down their throat with the transsexuals and the gays. He's like, you can do whatever you want, but don't jam it down my throat. But now they fully endorse and seek to jam Christian, their brand of Christian theology down your throat, because this is false. This is, in my opinion, this isn't Christianity. But they fully believe it, and they want you to live according to what they deem fit. They want to institute a theocracy, an authoritarian, populist theocracy, Christian nationalism. This is what they want. They scream about Sharia law all day long. How long have we been listening to Sharia law? If you've been involved in what we do here in the alt media, how long have you seen that? Oh, Sharia law, Sharia law. Alex Jones used to talk about it all the time. Sharia law is coming. The Arabs are invading. Islam. Sharia law. Sharia law is not here. It's never been here. Odds are that it never will. But you know what is here? Christian nationalism. So everything they're accusing all these other groups of doing, they are actually doing right now. They're actually doing it right now.
Pastor Doug Wilson, that means merging church and state, something he's preached for decades. To many, he's
the person most closely identified with that phrase, Christian nationalism.
It's a term I accept and embrace. It wasn't a term I came up with, but I prefer it to the names I usually get called.
Which are?
White supremacist, theo-fascist, Christo-fascist.
I think theo-fascist is the best way to describe this bullshit. And I had never heard that phrase up until listening to this clip. These people are theo-fascists. That's what these people are. I don't want any part of this. Stay the hell out of my life. Isn't that the point of all of this? This is what it was for. Like, I remember when conservatives were like, well, first of all, I don't know where the real conservatives are. I would like for them to step up at some point, because where the hell have you gone? Where have all the cowboys gone? But they would say, don't threat on me. Small government, stay the hell out of my life. But now they want a unitary executive to have all the power, and he's able to expand or dissolve whatever he wants to do. It's fine with them. And they want a government that dictates everything you can do, what you believe in, what you eat, who you sleep with, where you sleep with them, the whole deal. That's what these people want. So the hypocrisy of this movement it's incredible to me. It's hard for me to come to terms with. I really have a hard time understanding how we could get to this point. But here we are. All right, more from Doug Wilson, the theo-fascist. Disgusting.
All-around bad guy.
Once a fringe ideology, Christian nationalism is now reaching the nation's centers of power. Wilson has spoken at the National Conservatism Conference, where a rising number of government
Look at all these pieces of filth. All of them subscribe to this nonsense. Or at least they act like they do in order to gain control. J.D. Vance is a snake in the grass, man. He doesn't believe in anything. He just wants power. He's a chameleon. I don't know about the rest of these fools. I don't know about Russell Vought to see if he really subscribes to it. He might. Russell Vought might actually subscribe to this, given who he is. Tulsi Gabbard is another sellout. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit.
Conservatism Conference, where a rising number of government officials now appear. He's opened a branch of his church in D.C., expanding his global network of 150 churches. And one of his most recognized congregants is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
One of the most sinful men on the frickin' planet, Pete Hegseth, is supposed to be the light bearer for us. The example of Christian nationalism, this piece of filth. How did we get to this point where this is a thing? Openly changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. What is that trying to tell you? We're going to show some clips about what he had to say about Nigeria. They're trying to invade Venezuela. Sounds like they're more interested in killing than carrying out Christ messages, but these people will take the Bible and take those messages and twist them and turn them and make them as they see fit. And they will use it to control you, the people.
WSJ politics reporter Aaron Zittner sat down with Wilson to discuss his growing influence under Trump.
So what is Christian nationalism as you define it?
Christian nationalism is the conviction that secularism is a failed project and that no society can function or exist without a transcendental grounding. So Christian nationalism is the idea that a society needs God in order to function.
What does government look like and civil society look like in a Christian nationalist, biblically guided
We will
frame?
start with civil society. It would look a lot smaller. As I'm fond of saying, if this is the state, and if there is no God above the state, then the state is God. And I don't want the state to be God.
This guy is a freaking idiot, and he's very, very dangerous. He calls himself a theologian. I think he teaches at a university. This guy is delusional. Hold on, let me play that again, and then I'm gonna give you my comments on it. This guy is dangerous, man.
Guided
We will
frame.
start with civil society. It would look a lot smaller. As I'm fond of saying, if this is the state, and if there is no God above the state, then the state is God. And I don't want the state to be God. I don't want to live under the pretentious rule of finite beings who breathe through their nose, running every aspect of our lives as though they were the deity.
Yo, this guy, this is incredible, bro. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick, right? He doesn't want to live, right, under in a world where the government is God, right? He doesn't want to live where the government doesn't answer to a higher power, right? Where the people answer to people just like them. Right. He does not want to live under that. We need God in order to survive as a society, in order to thrive as a society. So who's going to be the conduit? Who is going to communicate between God and the people? Pharaoh, anyone? You know, it's like, what the hell? You know, it's like, what is this guy saying? And how did we get to this point? Because he's like, well, we need to follow God's rule. So who interprets God's rule? Is God going to come down? Is Jesus going to come down and tell us exactly what's going down? Are we all going to be able to see Jesus, or is there somebody that's going to be in charge and is going to tell us all what Jesus wants us to do? I think that's the most likely scenario here, right? What God wants us to do. Doug Wilson will be that guy, or wants to be that guy, to tell you how to live your life. He wants to be the guy to tell you who you should sleep with, who you can marry, what you can do, how you can vote, and what's legal and what's not, based solely on their beliefs, not anyone else's. They don't want to take anything into anybody else's feelings, anybody else's beliefs into account. It is their beliefs, their feelings, what they think is the right thing to do. These are dangerous, dangerous authoritarian people that should not be anywhere near power. But unfortunately, these are the people that take power and that are currently in power. And even if you're a Christian, first off, if you're a Christian, you should denounce this immediately. Immediately. Second, if you believe in freedom, and if you're a Christian, but more importantly, if you believe in freedom, you should allow everybody to do what it is they want to do, to believe what they want to believe, and worship the God they want to worship. It is not up to you. You can communicate your beliefs, but you can't force anyone to do anything. And this is what these people want to do. They want to force people to do these things. These are fascist. Incredible.
Is there room in a Christian, biblically driven society, a Christian nationalist society, for Muslims and Hindus and people who aren't Christians?
Yes, but not room for a ton of them. Protestants, Catholic.
Yeah, we can have some of them, but not a lot of them, Some of them can exist, but not a bunch of them. And eventually they're going to have to convert, because we can't tolerate that crap. Look at what's happening with J.D. Vance's wife right now. And the speculation that's gone on after J.D. Vance was on stage with Charlie Kirk's wife and they were giving each other some intimate hugs, and she was, touching the back of his head like, hey, what's going on? And the theory around the internet is hilarious because they're like, and this is everywhere, right? Both sides are saying, hey, they want to replace Isha Vance or Aisha Vance. They want to replace her with with Charlie Kirk's wife to make it more uniformed to what these Christian nationalists see as acceptable. It's a giant problem. This is what's going around now. I'm not saying this is what they are saying. This is what the internet is saying. This is what the people that are attached to this, involved in this, subscribe to it. This is what they're saying about J.D. Vance. This guy, Doug Wilson, said that people describe him as a white nationalist because white nationalism and Christian nationalism are tied at the hip. This is not true Christianity. In my view, and who am I to judge? Regardless, it's not something I want in my life. So stay away from me. Stay as far away from me as possible. Let me do what I want to do. And more importantly, get the fuck out of my government. You want to be you want to believe what you want to believe? Go do that shit somewhere else. Leave me the hell alone. But that's not what they want.
And Jews are sort of a de facto arrangement that we've worked out over centuries. But I wouldn't want to exacerbate our problem by importing millions of Muslims such that we wind up with Dearborn, Michigan, with unregulated immigration.
Sharia law in Dearborn, Michigan. Sharia law in New York City when Mamdani takes over in about, he's about to be elected, most likely, on Tuesday. Sharia law. People are freaking crazy.
You're going to turn the Michigan-Ohio border into the India-Pakistan border. You're just importing strife. And I don't think we ought to import strife.
And gay rights, gay marriage, homosexual activity.
No gay marriage. No. And gay rights, it depends what you mean. Gays would have the right to keep and bear arms. They would have the right to peaceably assemble. They would have the right to publish their views. But those aren't gay rights. Those are people rights.
But at one point in this country, same-sex activity was a felony. Would you reinstate that?
No, same-sex activity was illegal, yes, and would be again, yes.
So, yeah, gays would have rights. They could assemble peacefully. They can own guns, even though they're actively moving to try to take away the guns from the transgenders right now. After the shootings that went on, the multiple shootings, and the Charlie Kirk shooting, of course. They want to take away the guns from the transgenders, and it's a slippery slope from there. Trump's going to take your guns, guys. Just saying. So they'll have those rights, but, they can't marry. Out of the question, and have sex is, having same sex is out of the question. You can't do that. That is also illegal. So they're gays in name only, right? That's kind of like negating being gay, right? I mean, yeah, sure, they'll have rights, but they can't have sex. They can't engage in consensual relationships with one another, and they certainly can't get married. And a lot of people will say, well, they shouldn't be married in a church. It's fine. If a church doesn't want to marry these people, they shouldn't have to. And quite frankly, the gay couple that seeks to be married shouldn't want to be married by people who don't want to marry him. Like, sure, peace, get out of here. But the state itself has a requirement to acknowledge that union legally. But they don't want any part of that, right? They want to impose their beliefs upon you. And if you think that's not going to carry on to heterosexual stuff, you're losing your mind. What's considered pure sex in the eyes of whatever deity these people are serving or are referring to? Because it's only a slippery slope from there. We'll get a David Koresh as the president of the United States at some point, who's a Christian nationalist. This is not good.
Wilson has
and the advertisements.
Things you need to know to start your day. Deadline for a peace deal.
We gotta wait. CNN is being advertised. Oh my God.
Don't panic.
Don't panic. It's just CNN. All right, here we go.
It's happening.
And another advertisement. They're not even giving me the opportunity to skip.
Banking.
Hold on.
And it's happening with Ripple. Blockchain.
Wilson has expressed support for repealing the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote in 1920. An alternative voting system is already in place at Wilson's church.
In our church, we have elections for ministers or elders or deacons. And in our polity, households have the vote, not men, not women.
And where have you heard that before? I don't know if you have, but if you have, it came out of the mouth of J.D. Vance. I dare to say Mike Johnson has said things like this too, but J.D. Vance definitely has endorsed these ideas that the household should vote. That one person from the household should vote to represent the entire household. Typically, that would be a man. The man would be producing the vote, not necessarily the woman, even though he makes exceptions for it here. But it's patriarchal Christian nationalism. It's very men-oriented, white men to be exact, but men nonetheless. Let's continue to play this. There you go.
So when a woman is the head of a household, as some of them are in our church, in Acts 16, Lydia is the head of her household. If she were in our church, she would vote, but she would vote on behalf of her household.
The household is the basic unit of societal organization, and the household votes, and which, if there's a man and a woman, would be a male-headed.
It's usually, so the voter would usually be the man,
Right.
but it's not required. That's not required.
The world you're describing seems like a different version of democracy, if it's democracy at all. There are people who would say this is a threat to democracy as we know it. There's no alternative religions in the public sphere. Homosexuality activity is outlawed, and our rules around voting default to male heads of households and not women. Is this a threat to democracy?
No. Were we a democracy in 1950? We were the world's leading democracy in 1950.
This is intellectually dishonest, what this man is saying here. And a lot of people will hear this and be like, well, he has a point. He does not have a point. And this is a supposed scholar. To say something like this is there's a huge blind side to this. In 1950, the United States has been a quote unquote democracy for a long, long time. That doesn't mean we every aspect of our society functions as such or has functioned as such. Even right now, we can point to right now, it's supposed to be a democratic republic, but it more and more it's resembling an autocracy. More and more. So we're not quite there yet 100%, but more and more it's resembling that. You mean to tell me this argument that he's making is like, oh, well, is slavery a threat to our democracy? Well, no, it's not a threat to our democracy. We were, during slavery, we were a democracy, right? It's like a democracy for whom exactly? Right. So it's a very one-sided argument. Like, for whom? Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Who will have the rights? It's a democracy, but only for a select few. It was a very dishonest statement by this guy. I don't like him. I don't know him. And maybe if I knew him, I would like him. But right now, I don't like this guy. And I don't think I would like him if I'd met him. But I'm just being honest. This is not somebody I think I would like.
We were a free and orderly society when all these things that I'm on my wish list was actually the case. When I was a kid, it was
free and orderly for who exactly? Whose history is he referring to? And you know what? The host should have thrown this right back at him. Free and orderly for whom? What the hell are you talking about?
the case. When I was a young man, it was the case. And we were not a totalitarian hellhole when all these things that I'm wishing for were the case.
Wilson says he didn't vote.
And this is the problem with these people. Hold on for a second. I don't think you guys were able to see it, but I hope you heard it at least. Hold on. Oh, there he goes. All right. Rewind a little bit so you guys can see him talking about this shit.
Household is the basic unit of societal organization, and the household votes, and which, if there's a man and a woman, would be a male-headed.
It's usually, so the voter would usually be the man,
right?
But it's not required. That's not required.
The world you're describing seems like a different version of democracy, if it's democracy at all. There are people who would say this is a threat to democracy as we know it. There's no alternative religions in the public sphere. Homosexuality activity is outlawed, and our rules around voting default to male heads of households and not women. Is this a threat to democracy?
No. Were we a democracy in 1950? We were the world's leading democracy in 1950. We were a free and orderly society.
Shit, that's a hell of a thing to say. Now, is this guy just an idiot, or is he being dishonest?
When all these things that I'm on my wish list was actually the case. When I was a kid, it was the case. When I was a young man, it was the case. And we were not a totalitarian hellhole when all these things that I'm wishing for were the case.
Wilson says he didn't vote for President Trump in 2016, but supported him in 2020 and 2024 after Trump's Supreme Court nominations helped strike down Roe v. Wade.
What do you see from President Trump that is helpful in your goal of persuading Americans to accept a Christian nation?
I think that the most helpful thing that he is doing and is likely to do is, again, judges, appointing judges to the federal bench who are in a position to cut back the overreach.
He's created more space in the public sphere for religion.
Yes. And I'm happy about that. Although I don't want hard establishment of religion. I don't want an official denomination of the United States or of any particular state. But I do believe that the civil government should be friendly toward Christianity. And
he doesn't want a hard establishment, but gays can't do shit. And you have to follow, a Christian, their version of Christianity, and it's important to note that, because a lot of Christians will get upset. We'll be like, well, we should be following these things. We should be doing these things in a Christian manner. It's fine if you believe that, but you also have to respect everybody else. Some people don't believe what you believe. Some people worship different gods than what you do. And it's not up to you to decide whether or not these people get to do that. It's just not. So frustrating. So frustrating. Man, so I mean, if we live in a truly free society, which we do not, of course, not even close, we need to start acknowledging that other people have other beliefs, and those beliefs need to be respected. I know some people think, these people are going to hell as a result. That's between them and the Lord. Has nothing to do with you. Follow your own life. Do your own thing. This is extremely dangerous. I know that some of you have somebody in your life that has fallen to this. I have several people in my life that voted for Donald Trump because they thought that he was sent from God. And he struck down Roe v. Wade, and there's no abortion. Well, it's not exactly true, but you know what I mean. They were able to do things, and I mean the Supreme Court and the Trump administration, the people that he put in those positions, were able to do something that was once thought undoable, right? Impossible. So because of those things, like Donald Trump should be the president of the United States, and I will vote for him because of those things. And they overlook everything else, all the injustice, all the cruelty, all the corruption. They overlook his immoral behavior, the fact that he doesn't even read the Bible or subscribe to God in any sort of way. He just says, yes, of course, I believe in God. I believe in him. The Bible is one of my favorite books. It's so good. It's my favorite. It's so good. I've read it so many times. Well, sir, Mr. President, what's your favorite Bible verse? Well, that's personal. It's a personal thing. And I don't want to share it with you because it's very personal to me. And then that's it. It's over. Right? That's it. Of course, he's a godly man. Or people they do the mental gymnastics and start saying, well, he is like Paul, a fallen man that God has chosen, because God can choose anyone he wants to carry out his mission and spread his word. And Donald Trump is the guy that has been chosen. He was spared in Butler, Pennsylvania. He dodged the bullet. The angel came down and pushed his head a little bit to the side. and miraculously healed his ear. So he must be the guy. He must be. All these children that are starving around the world because of cuts to USAID. All these children that are starving here in the United States right now. And there was tons of food to give them, but they went to waste in warehouses. Didn't give them to anybody. They just let them go to waste. That's what God came down and saved Donald Trump to do. To cover up for pedophiles and kill children by starvation throughout the world. But the mind control is strong, ladies and gentlemen. It is strong. It is very strong. And these people will believe what they're going to believe, what they're going to believe. It's incredible to me. It's incredible to me. Now what we're doing is we're going into Nigeria. You want to know why? Because they're killing Christians. They're killing Christians in Nigeria. And because they're killing the Christians, that this will not stand. And we need to go to war. Whatever happened to America first? Why are we going into Nigeria? It's like he's just picking. What do I do to distract from Jeffrey Epstein? Well, let's go into Nigeria. Let's bomb Venezuela too. Eventually, they're going to come back. They still flirt with Canada being the 51st state. They're going to come back to the Panama Canal. They're going to come back to Greenland. They're going to come back to all of these things. Donald Trump just says whatever sometimes, but Pete Hegseth is ready to mobilize apparently. All right, let me see who's here. Jason Barker's in the chat. What's up, Jay? How you doing? We are currently 111 strong. 112 right now. What's up to everybody listening? We appreciate you. Guy Goldsmith should be here. I hope he makes it. If not, we'll go for a little bit longer. And hold on. Says he didn't see the invite. Let me see if I can send it live on air, live production here on Gorilla Underground. We don't have an audio visual department here on Gorilla Underground. It's all me. So I got to do it live. And send Guard the X invite all over again. I really feel like shit. But I'm glad to be here with you guys. I'm glad you guys are here with me. And I hope some of the message resonates because we need to understand that people, we all have one life and we should be allowed to live it as long as we're not hurting everybody else. I wonder who the hell I sent this information to. Let me see. Oh, he did. Let me see. Oh, that was me. Well, I'm sending it again. It's there. I'm pasting it. Bang. There it is. It's there. Okay. There it is. It's sent, I think. I'm going to try to do it again. I think I sent it to the wrong person. I'm so under the weather. Hold on for a second. Let me text them and tell them it's there. All right, so maybe we'll get them. Maybe we'll get them back. All right, sent it again for good measure. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, there goes Guard.
Yes, my man. Yes,
Guard?
you pull through every time. You know what to do.
Oh man, like I'm lucky I looked at my phone because typically I don't do that. I'm lucky I looked at it, and otherwise I would have just barreled through. How are you? How you
I'm
doing?
doing great, man. I'm doing great. And you know how to step across the lily pads of the pond to get to the destination. You knew just how to do it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to contact him. And you saw it. Perfect stuff, man. And I've been listening as you've been going through that abysmal conversation between those ne'er-do-wells who seem to be completely lost in their hedgerow manners of elitism. They're
Right.
walking through the hedgerows and they can't escape. That was insane, dude.
Yeah, man. It's and these are the people that are currently ruling our country. Mike Johnson openly subscribes to this nonsense. Openly.
Yeah.
You know, Pete Hegseth, who is a very sinful individual by his own accord, and everybody's sinful. Everybody commits sins. I'm not trying to be holier than thou here, but when this guy is trying to tell us how to lead our lives, you know, I'm like, come on, knock it off. Like,
You know,
go ahead.
It went through my mind, Billy Ray, and thank you so much for letting me join you tonight, man.
Thank
You
you
know,
for
so
coming.
often on Sunday nights, I'm listening to you, I'm nodding my head, I'm like, yeah, you know, doing these things. Now I get to chat with you, and it's a great way to start the week or end the weekend. And I got to say, I'm listening to those guys, and in my mind, I'm just thinking about how so often when I'm doing my show, or you know, I might be talking to students or whatever, you can see these packages of erroneous content that people have. Oh, hey, Karen, people have in their heads. You know,
Yeah.
people have these mistaken thoughts in their heads, and they find commonality with people. And you know, I hope to try to avoid making mistakes and so on. And you can see how these people have had these dumb ideas reinforced, these prejudices, these ideas of utopianism that they've got. Now they're in action in the political sphere.
Right.
And so you can see the translation from the bad and erroneous mentality into the destructive, absolutely anti-constitutional, anti-Christian, everything they stand for, they're actually working against now through policy. They're
Right.
making it work, and it's not for good at all.
100%.
You know, I wrote this down when you were talking about the threats to democracy thing.
Right.
And I said threats to democracy, and you know, and you brought it up. That term democracy has nothing to do with individual liberty or the state.
Right.
Because it buys into precisely what this gang rule is doing that we're seeing. And then I said, you know, whose arbitrary diktats are going to be the rule of the so-called majority? I thought they had respect for the founding fathers and their constitution. Well, the stuff they're doing on the immigration side is completely anti-constitutional. Their big hero, and your point was so perfect, because they give them an excuse. Trump can blast these people because, well, they're drug dealers. Well, there's nothing in the Constitution lets him do that. Well, it's Donald Trump. He's doing the right thing. You know, he got shot. Yeah. Did he? I don't know. And they come through with all these excuses when you say something like, you know, he can't even tell you what part of the Bible he likes the most, and your impression was perfect. Then their fallback is, well, sure, he might be a fallen guy. They'll give you any excuse they possibly can. It's just it's total icon worship, man.
Anything. It's damn, it is demoralizing for me, Guard, and I'm sure for you in many ways, to sit there and see this. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure, I don't know this for a fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably affected your life in some capacity. Like I have friends and family members who didn't give a damn about politics for the most part, but are now fully on board with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because of the Christian nationalist angle. You know, there are other things in play of it, but they want a Christian to be in charge, and they think that society as a whole should be a Christian society, or America as a whole should be a Christian nation. There's this myth that America was a Christian nation to begin with. That is not true.
Yeah,
You know,
and even that concept of making it a Christian nation, they're combining their religion with this idea that you've got to get permission to get married. You got to get a license.
You're right.
Who comes first there, God or not? Because if you got to get, it's all upside down. They keep mixing it up. You know, it's so dumb. They're not thinking it through.
I didn't even think of that till you said it, Guard, because I'm saying, you know, there is a separation between church and state. And I mentioned this, right? I was like, you know, if a church does not want to marry you, they should be allowed to not marry you, but also you shouldn't want to be married by those people, right?
Yeah.
Like me personally, if I go into a store or a restaurant and these people don't want to serve me, I don't want to be served by you. I will get up and leave. You can have what you have. I want to be where I'm wanted, you know, where they want my money and they want to serve me, right? And this goes for anything. But I did make the distinction that the government itself, of whatever state you reside in or anything like that, they don't have that option, right? I tell me exactly what you're thinking, because it kind of changed my, like, who are they to be able to tell you where the union comes in? But from what I understand, marriage is a financial thing, right? Like, it's bringing together two people and your finances are attached as a result of that marriage. Right. So that's why this is done. And there's civil marriage, and then there's the religious marriage, which is under God, which is what most people associate by it.
Yeah. And I
tell me what you think of that. Go ahead.
Well,
and it's fine if you disagree. I want to learn. Go ahead. Tell me.
Well, I think this, you know, the notes that I put down there, I think this perfectly epitomizes exactly many of the things that we see are the problems with the Christian nationalists or the Christian Zionists. And both of them want to utilize the leverage of the power of the state to get things done that they want to get done. Marriage is a perfect example. So as we know, you know, marriage is supposed to be a union between a man and a woman. But as with other things, when the state encroaches into any of these types of things, you're going to get people starting to argue about what the state will allow or what the state won't allow. When it's got to give its imprimatur on something, supposedly to protect it and sanctify it, well, that means whoever is in charge is going to be the one that makes the decisions. So when you get the state involved with marriage, when you get the state involved with trade, when you get the state involved with whom you can hire, whom you can associate with, any of these things, it starts to become an area of argumentation and dissent. And this is the major problem. It gets so bad, they're shooting people like Charlie Kirk over it. That's how bad it gets. It gets to the point where, so I'll give you an example. I wrote a piece for the Mises Institute years ago called "Don't Let the State Define Marriage or the Optimal Child Rearing Environment." And I was listening to this Christian woman who was talking about how only men and women should get married because that's what the Bible says. I was like, fine, then you go to that church and that's fine. And you don't have to have the state get involved. Now, she says, no, we need the state to get involved. Now, gay people, on the other hand, see that there are certain advantages to a legal marriage.
Right.
Because if you're married, you get visitation rights. The state provides certain things. It's not just, so they give special benefits to people who are married, and gay people say, well, we can't get those benefits. You know, I want to have a coupling with my person. Then the religious people say, no, it's a biblical thing. You're going against Christ. You're going against God. You're even going against Judeo traditions, you know? So what I tried to point out to people was, you know, George and Martha Washington didn't have to go to the government to get permission to get married. They just got married. Right. And so by putting in these hands, it really started to come around in the 1880s when they wanted to prevent Catholics from getting married. They wanted to control that. They wanted to stop those types of things. And so they instilled this idea of licensing. And that became this special favor thing. And I said to the people who were the conservatives, I said, listen, if you're going to work on your state level, like here in New Hampshire, they wanted to amend the state constitution to make it that only a man and woman could get married. I was like, guess what? The full faith and credit clause of the Constitution means that any legal document from any other state that is brought into this state has to be recognized as legal. Right. So you might want to prevent gay marriage in this state. But guess what? If it's legal in California and somebody moves here, you're going to have to recognize it. So you're wasting all this money, all this time. Instead of doing that, why don't you get the state out of it and no longer go to get permission from the state? Why don't you just have, as you say, competing churches? And if people don't like it, they don't have to deal with it. You can get legal documents someplace else that say you get visitation rights, and hospitals would deal with it on a one-to-one basis, not with government diktats. This is always the free market alternative. It's always the peaceful alternative. I don't want to have to pay for somebody else to get their marriage license from some office somewhere. Why do I have to pay for that? It's stupid. It's so infuriating. They just don't understand. And at every level, they always got to get the government involved. And every time they do, people are going to argue and get pissed off. That's the way it works. And this guy's got all these highfalutin ideas. He's sitting there. I'm looking at this. I said, whose arbitrary diktats are going to rule this? And he keeps talking democracy. I thought these guys were the conservative ones. I thought they thought the Constitution was great. They don't even seem to understand the very gang rule we're seeing right now is because these people keep using the word democracy. The very ribs that are getting broken in Evanston, Illinois, of a 67-year-old guy coming back from his running club and was honking a horn because ICE was invading the town. They pull him out, break 6 of his ribs. That is the gang rule that these people now think is so great. Well, next time it could be Biden, and see what they think then.
I think that's the only way to get at them and say, well, next time who's going to be in power? If this guy ever chooses to leave, we may have to drag him out of the office, whomever is in charge, either J.D. Vance or Donald Trump. I don't know if Donald Trump makes it to the 4 years, but if he does, we're going to have to drag him out of office. He's not leaving willingly, in my opinion. J.D. Vance is another one. He's not going to leave willingly at all. So let's see. But if it does happen, right, and we do drag this guy out, Gavin Newsom, maybe. Who is it? Pete Buttigieg is right now he's leading in the polls for the Democratic contender to be the president of the United States. What's he going to do to you? If that's what it takes, right? That you have to look at it that way. What's going to happen when the Democrats take power? I'm with it. As long as we fight back against this, I'm with it. Ben Hameen is in the chat. That's my guy. What's up, Ben? How you doing? Good to see you. I will be going up to, I've already purchased my ticket. I will be going up to 2CW with Strangler Steve King, and Ben Hameen is a professional wrestler. He's retired now, but he still whoops ass. He has a character based on 9/11. He's
man, that's awesome.
Yeah. He's a prince from the House of Saud, Mr. Ben Hameen. What's up, buddy? How you doing? That's his character.
We got all these wrestling guys with us, like when I got to be friends with Glenn and stuff like that. He'd come into the house and you'd have to stoop under the doorway. It's like, man, this dude's immense. And as you can tell, I'm going to be entering the wrestling world very soon.
Of course. Guard is friends with Kane, Ben, with Kane.
Good man. And to show you what a good guy is, I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, Billy Ray, but, he has down in Tennessee, he has a farm down there. And he's got a big barn, and originally was a horse barn, but he converted the stalls so that he can take in dogs that are on the kill list.
That's very dope.
Yeah. He can, I think, house like 13 of them. Brings them food.
I have major issues with Kane. Major issues with that guy, especially with his Trump support. I don't understand it, but whatever. But I'm glad he's doing good things on the other end, right? That's great. That's fantastic. I want to get your thoughts. I know you've been covering the immigration things heavily, Venezuela heavily. I'm sure you know about what's going on in Nigeria, right? Or what they said, because this leads right into the Nigeria conversation, right? Because of this Christian nationalism, and he's trying to feed his base, to feed the cult. They want, and they're happy about this, that they're going into that. Supposedly, he's like, we're going into Nigeria and we're going to invade because Christians are being killed in Nigeria. And first, let me pull up the tweet or the X, the post, whatever the hell it's called now. I don't know. There's so many of them. Let me pull that up real quick. This is Trump and then Pete Hegseth responding to it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Yeah. And then I have a media report from Al Jazeera that I want to play, and then I'll get your thoughts on everything. So here's Donald Trump says, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. Now, I mean, we could have done the same thing to Israel, no? I mean, right? If we want to stop the killing over there, we want to stop the mayhem, right? they're breaking the peace treaty right now. We could have pulled the aid, right?
Right.
But no, it's selective. It's selective. Let me go back. Hold on. Here we go. Where is it? All right. Let me see. And we will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, bang, bang. And this is the kind of freaking language this buffoon uses. I remember he said he was going to that everybody should evacuate Tehran, to run out of there, because he was going to detonate a bomb or something. There's going to be things of epic proportions. Well, anyway, in response to this tweet by Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, our Christian nationalist head of the Department of War, says, yes, sir. So started off with that. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria and anywhere must end immediately. The Department of War is preparing for action. Like, I mean, guy, this dude is just such, so boorish. I can't do it. I can't do it with Hegseth. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians, or we will kill the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Guard, what the hell is going on here with all of
well, as far as Hegseth is concerned, I don't think I've seen an independent thought come out of that guy's brain ever.
No, absolutely.
It's always yes, sir. It's always the repeat. He's like a weather vane. He'll just point whatever direction the political commanders are telling him. It's just ridiculous. The other thing is, inside Donald Trump's X/Truth Social repost thing, I don't think he could have packed that with more idiocy if he vacuum sealed it.
Right.
If he compacted it in a friggin' car compactor.
Right.
First, he's talking about the Christians. He literally worked with the Al-Nusra Front, the offshoot of Al-Qaeda that formed ISIS. He worked with al-Jilani, now known as al-Sharaa. Al-Sharaa actually has held the heads of Christians. He has helped slaughter Christians. The Israeli Zionist forces just destroyed one of the last Catholic churches inside Gaza City. They have been blowing people to smithereens. How about those supposed drug dealers? Even if they were drug dealers, which is ridiculous, there's no constitutional so-called authority, and there's never any such thing as authority that I never signed, and I didn't give them permission to have authority over me. They're claiming authority over me, and they're claiming it with supposedly their offices that are created by the Constitution, and then they don't care once they get in power. I wonder if any of those guys from Venezuela were Christian. That's a heavily Christian nation. I wonder if Pete Hegseth cares about the near 60 people they've blown to pieces.
My God.
And they're fatuously, unambiguously speaking about how great they are, that they're going to go defend Christians. And Donald Trump also packs into that, Billy Ray, we're going to stop giving them aid. Hey, Donald, have you read your Constitution? You're not supposed to be giving them aid, especially now with $38 trillion in debt. I thought Christians didn't like enslaving people multi-generationally. We're 3 generations in before that stuff can even get paid off. And they don't give a flying what. They don't care, man. They'll use any language they possibly can. Exactly what you did, pulling up that video to try to appeal to these Christians who are out there thinking that now it's some onward Christian soldier all around the world. Rather than the battle against communism, it's the battle for Christianity. And they're selectively blind. And they're operating in a completely anti-Christian way through taxation. And even if they said that the Constitution has authority, they're breaching that. So there's no possible level that they can ever argue that they're operating in a truthful way, in a Christian way, in any way possible. And then when you get down to the details of it, they're total hypocrites.
Yeah, man. No, you're absolutely right, man. I couldn't have put it better myself. Good, excellent breakdown and pointing out the hypocrisy of the people that he actually worked for, what he actually stood for, if he actually stood for anything at all. It's disgusting. And how many, you're absolutely right. South America is probably, I don't know if I'm right about this, but it might be the biggest area for Catholicism in the world, right? I think
Right.
I think it's that. So I mean, these are Christians.
Right.
You're blowing up Christians, you know. But then he'll say, "Oh, but they were dealing drugs and bringing them into the country." It's not even. It's I laugh, but it's not funny. Like it's over 50 people.
Yeah.
So,
And you know, I keep thinking about the birth of Christ and how they had to go into the manger, you know. They had no room in the inn. And there were so many people who were fleeing the Roman tyranny.
Right.
They had to hide out. And I keep thinking of these migrants. And again, if anybody is new to this, I mention it on Liberty Conspiracy all the time, Billy Ray. You know I do it. Just remember, the word immigration is not in the Constitution. No matter how many times Mark Levin screeches it and breaks glass by doing it, it's not there. They continually use the word naturalization to mean immigration. I literally was on the phone with a Boston Talk radio host, and I said, immigration is not a federal power. And he says, it's naturalization. It is a federal power. It's like, do you understand the distinction between becoming a citizen and the process and rules that they confer to the federal government to do that versus being a non-citizen and walking on the ground of any of the states? Because Thomas Jefferson and James Madison did in 1798, and they friggin' wrote about it. And as I brought it up before in my show, dude, when Texas entered the Union in 1869, they had a Bureau of Immigration in their state constitution. First of all, why would they put it there if it were a federal purview? And second, why would the feds allow them to have it in there if it were a federal purview? It's so absurd. You can easily handle that in a flash, but the conservatives don't want you to handle it because they've got the opposition to the low skilled wages of the migrants coming in. They got this idea that the migrants are bringing more crime and so on and so forth. As I mentioned on the show this past week, crime was going down prior to the entrance of all these goons from ICE and the National Guard.
Yeah.
Their rationale that crime was going rampant. If you go between January and July of 2025 and that time period in 2024, crime was lower in July through January 2025. It was going down. It was lower in July of 2025 before all these feds went in than it was in July of 2024. It had gone down, not up. Everything they're saying is a lie. And that actually gets me religious and gets me wondering about these people like J.D. Vance and people like Hegseth and Trump, you know?
Absolutely. 100%. And that's all they do, this administration. This is why I have such a hard time. And this is why I've been so vocal about everything that's going on, you know, to the point where people are like, oh, you know, Billy doesn't talk about anything anymore other than Trump. Is like, I want people to see this ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Like obvious lies.
Yeah.
And when people don't see the lie, I'm like, why don't you see that? You know, like,
and the other thing is people's lives, you know, like we texted about this dude and I mentioned to you, it's like, you know, this dominates so many of the episodes of what I'm doing.
Right.
And you said, yeah, you know, this is what's happening on the ground.
Yeah.
This is happening in Massachusetts, right where I used to get off the subway. That's where they took that woman from Tufts. I know exactly where that is.
God bless
you know, it's just, and they're mass dudes. Did you see this new video with the teenage kids who are going around posing as ICE people now?
I did not.
Oh, dude, yeah. They stupidly took their masks off inside of like a fast food place. They were laughing about it. They have ICE, they put on masks, and they go around freaking people out.
Well, I mean, they set that up. They set up the environment for that. Like anybody would have been able to tell that was going to happen. It was in inevitability.
Yeah,
but they just allowed it to happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what Trump wants. Trump is shutting down the supply chain. And the other thing is everybody's all ticked off about the truckers. Oh, these truckers, you know, you get that accident, these accidents, couple accidents with illegal immigrants. The population of illegal immigrants has skyrocketed in trucking because of the federal regulations that make trucking so expensive. They can't afford to pay these guys who are trying to stay in trucking, the Native American truckers. They're leaving. They're leaving because they can't keep doing the job. So the only way that the trucking lines can lower their costs is by lowering one factor of their production, which is the labor factor. So they're hiring illegal immigrants. It's not friggin' rocket science. It's so dumb. This is the thing that always gets me as a libertarian anarchist. I try to explain to people, the more burdens these put on things, the more people are going to have to go into the black market. The more they put into the government sphere, the more people are going to argue and fight over these things. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else other than just stop putting these decisions into the hands of the state and stop pretending that it's democracy, because you're supposed to have some barriers to it.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
so stupid, dude.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Gard.
It's just like, oh man, I got to listen to some 9 Inch Nails after this, man, you know?
Go break something.
Yeah, you know?
So I want to play this clip for you and get your thoughts, and then one more thing, and then we're out of here, Gard.
Why not?
But this is Al Jazeera reporting on the potential siege on Nigeria. Here we go.
U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to send military forces into Nigeria unless the government stops what he called the killings of Christians by terrorists. Trump posted the message on Truth Social, saying the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists, he says, who are committing these horrible atrocities. Trump says he's instructed the Department of War to prepare for possible action and says if we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet. While Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has responded to Trump in a statement.
Fast, vicious, and sweet.
Saying since 2023, our administration has maintained an open and active engagement with Christian and Muslim leaders alike and continues to address security challenges which affect citizens across faiths and religions and regions. The characterizations of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not, he says, reflect our national reality.
And how does that sound familiar, Gard? Because it sounds really familiar to me. This
Yes.
does not reflect our national reality. And people here in the States, elected officials, along with the population of selected cities like LA and Chicago, New York, San Francisco, right? Portland. They're like, these are war zones. They're burning down. And people come out and say, well, this doesn't reflect the reality of what's going on here.
You know, I'm looking something up because it's, something about Nigeria just popped into my head. There are a number of African nations that the United States, you know, whether it's Sudan or others, that the United States has wanted to deal with because of their rare earth minerals. And I think Nigeria is one of them. I'm gonna try to look some stuff up, but you know, in a way, this always reminds me, Billy Ray.
Sorry
What's
about
that?
that.
Oh yeah, this always reminds me of the fact that, you know, I might not, this is an immediate thing. They're going to pop up with these immediate things over and over and over and over again, right? And I could become demoralized, but I long ago shed the snake skin of thinking that I'm going to win any political battle. The only battle that I hope to try to succeed in any way is taking these opportunities to say to somebody, you know, you can learn something from this. Even if you can't change it, you can change it. You can get a nugget of knowledge that you can take with you. Like, for example, about the marriage thing. You know, why do you have to get involved with marriage? And if you're going to get involved, the government involved with marriage, you're not going to stop gay marriage in your state because of the clause in the Constitution that's called the full faith and credit clause. Or immigration. The word isn't in there. So these little nuggets, at least you know, at least I can get that out to people. And maybe somewhere on the streets or in some town hall, Pete Hegseth will show up somewhere and somebody will say, excuse me, and bring it up and expose the emperor for having no clothes. Maybe once in a while, you know, that's all I can.
Silver lining. It's a silver lining, right? Like that. Hopefully that happens, right? And that's what we seek to do.
Yeah.
While we do these things is hopefully something like that happens and the message gets spread to, you know, to try to do something to break out of this nonsense, but let's see what develops.
I'm looking.
The Nigerian human.
I'm sorry, Gard. What's up?
No, I was going to say I'm looking this up. I went into the AI real quick, and I said,
I'm sorry, Gard. It's my fault.
No problem.
Okay, there you go. You're good.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I looked this up and I just asked a quick question about Nigeria's rare earth minerals, massive rare earth minerals. Global interest is rising with Nigeria's unexplored REEs. They've got that terminology explained a little higher, estimated to be worth billions of dollars. And so then I asked real quick, and I apologize if I hope you didn't mind me quickly typing. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I said, has the United States approached Nigeria about this? Yes, the United States, because I remember reading some articles about this over at RT maybe about 6 months ago. And there were a couple other countries. They had a Pan-African conference. They had a couple of them. One of them had to do with how the United States, with the carbon sequestration thing, was not paying the African countries a rate for the stupid carbon sequestration stuff that they were paying, say, American corporations and stuff like that. So these people were going to come up with their own thing. Right. But then there was another meeting, says, yes, the United States, this is what it says. They've actively approached Nigeria regarding these critical minerals, including rare earth elements, REEs, as part of a broader strategy to diversify supply chains. The engagement focuses on diplomatic, corporate investment, and partnership building. However, let's see. Trump's statements, he threatened potential military action. And this ex posts widely speculate this is a pretext for securing the REEs. There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
And I wouldn't have thought of that if I hadn't been on with you watching this, dude.
Well, you know, you thought of it. I didn't think of it at all, and I should have. Right. That there's, and the same goes for Venezuela.
Yeah.
Right. The same. They've been trying to topple Venezuela for quite some time. Right. This isn't anything new to this administration or other American administrations. Like it's been a thing for a bit. So they're using this as a cover. You know, like, and this is what they do with the Christians over and over and over again.
Oh man, and yeah, dude, that my mind's going the same way. Now I'm just thinking like, it's even worse that they're doing the Christian thing on that. Like that, if that doesn't tell you that, you know, the J.D. Vance, Mrs. Kirk thing is a little bit alarming, and there's probably a lot more alarming stuff that may be valid or maybe not be valid. It's almost breathtaking to think about how many people have bought into what clearly right here with this Nigeria thing, you can see that this is just completely transparently a lie.
Yeah.
And they're using Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. And
people that's all you need to know. Yeah, right? That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. Let's keep watching this, and then I want your thoughts on I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I want your thoughts on this afterwards. And then there's one more clip I want to play of a Michael Wolff discussing the Jeffrey Epstein thing, because that's another thing that they're deflecting from hard. Yeah. The fact that the government is shut down, and apparently Mike Johnson doesn't want to swear in that lady from Arizona, Grahilda, I forget her name, but they keep postponing that, you know, because she is the last signature for the release of the Epstein files. All of this is intertwined. All of this comes into play. Because you know, they're covering up for pedophiles isn't exactly Christian, in my opinion, but who knows?
Well, let's speak to Bulama Bukati about this. He's a Nigerian human rights lawyer and an analyst on conflict and development in Africa. Thank you so much for your time. So Donald Trump claims there is a Christian genocide happening in Nigeria. From your research and experience, is this claim true? Are those facing persecution in Nigeria mainly Christians?
Absolutely not. The answer is a flat no. All the data reveals is that there is no Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. And this narrative is a dangerous far-right narrative that have been simmering for a long time that President Trump is amplifying today. It is very dangerous, it is divisive, and it is only going to increase or further increase instability in Nigeria. What the data reveals is that there are terrorist groups claiming to be fighting in the name of Islam, who are misinterpreting Islam and misapplying it. They target Muslims and Christians anywhere they find them. They bomb markets, they bomb churches, they bomb mosques, and they attack every civilian location they find. They do not discriminate between Muslims and Christians. And what the data shows, for my PhD research, for example, I used the data, the Nigerian Securities Tracker data, which was collated by the Council on Foreign Relations. And it shows that Boko Haram had attacked had attacked 83 churches and 72 mosques, but it had killed more than 2,000 people, more than 2,000 Muslim worshippers in the mosque, as against about 1,500 churches or people killed in church. So, and I mean, we are not comparing one or the other. Both of them are wrong. All attacks on innocent civilians are wrong, and we should be working together to stop Boko Haram from those attacks.
So,
what do you think, Gard?
Well, the point about the number of deaths that the number of murders is incredibly important. I think when one thinks about the isolated focus about the Christians, but I would just make this point, which is regardless of whom the great saviors in the now reconstructing White House, the transformer White House is going to turn into a giant car, I guess, and drive around the world and bring safety to everybody. Regardless of their rationale, they're not supposed to be taking your money. The only way that they can stop aggression is by engaging in aggression. That is the government. That is the state. And it doesn't matter what their rationales are. It doesn't matter whether they're saying we're going to save Christians. And even if they wanted to save, even if there were lots of Muslim people that they wanted to save, right? That they can't just say, now we picked this place and we're going to become the saviors there. They can't do that. And this is the type of, it's like they think they're the center of the universe. It's the Trumpocentric universe. It's not the heliocentric. It's the Trumpocentric universe. Anything he says goes. So they use the Christian argument. But if it's Muslims, which it does seem to be, even then, if somebody were to become president and say we got to save these people's lives, their innocent lives, it still doesn't excuse engaging in political aggression to force me to have to cough up money to give it to them. I might have many other ideas as to what to do with my money, and they're not me. They're not me. That's all there is to it. I'm either an individual or I'm not. If I'm not, then I'm just a battery for their machine, and it depends on how they want to program it. And I don't want to be that. I'd rather go someplace else.
All right. No, I get you 100%, man. And I agree. Should we do this Epstein clip? Should I stay?
Yeah,
all right, let's
absolutely. Yeah.
I was just gonna play this as all of this stuff is going on and it's deflecting from Epstein, but I typically play and listen to Michael Wolff. You're familiar, right? You're familiar.
Yeah. He's been coming out just the past few days. Been really interesting seeing some of his statements.
It has been interesting, but for some reason I'm starting to get tired of him. I'm glad you have all this information, but why are you sitting on it?
I was wondering the same thing. He's making it very personal,
right?
Rather than yes.
And now he's on social media, and a lot of his information is spot on, and at least I think it is, and it needs to be out there. But first off, he's sitting on this stuff. Second, he's on social media constantly, and he's putting out like little bits and pieces here and there and growing his clicks and growing his audience, and what's more important here? Like I don't know. It just feels disingenuous to me. This is just me from my perception of it. I could be very wrong about the guy, but at this point it's getting, I don't know. It's getting weird. Melania tried to sue him also, Melania Trump, and that fell apart really quickly. So I think this guy has something. They don't want to mess with this guy. But also he's really good friends with Steve Bannon. And you have all this information. Steve Bannon has all this information. They have all this footage on Jeffrey Epstein. And they're not releasing it. They're just sitting on it or doing whatever. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. But anyway, I want to play this clip because he doesn't make an allegation. He's talking about a book that was written and that was published a couple of days ago. And apparently there's an excerpt from the book that did not make it to the audio version. And it speaks about Epstein and Melania. That's the whole thing right now. I don't think it's any coincidence that Melania tried to sue this guy, and now he's coming out with this tidbit of information. Kind of, I don't know. It just seems too coincidental for me. I could be very wrong. It could be my conspiratorial tinfoil hat going off. But I want you to hear this, and then we'll go home. Card.
Okay.
A new book was published yesterday in the US and UK entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney. And it's about the pathetic life of Prince Andrew, but it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted, and this is from an interview apparently in 2007, where he says that he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania. Now, the hardcover copy of the book was widely available yesterday, and it contains that passage. But the ebook and the audio book, which were also released yesterday, do not contain that passage. So what happened here is that between the printing and the distribution of the book and its release, is that Melania Trump started to send threatening legal letters to anyone who might connect her directly to Jeffrey Epstein. So the publishers, and this is hard to figure out exactly what they believe they have accomplished here, but clearly they published the book and clearly had it vetted by lawyers and decided it was legally sound. But then, in the face of Melania Trump's threats, they ran and hide. I mean, it's kind of ostrich-like to think that they could put the book out and that the printed book can contain one thing and the other versions another, but that's not the point. The point is just panic. So we're at this moment in time when this information about Epstein and Trump and the Trumps is coming out, and yet at the same time, the White House is doing everything to stop it from coming out. And this is certainly an example.
Now, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Twisted Chris Mincy, what's up, Twisted? He had mentioned this to me before, that he thinks Melania and Jeffrey Epstein had a different relationship, and that she might have been like a call girl of some sort that he hooked up with Trump or something like that. But here is some legitimacy to that theory. It's still that or whatever, there's no concrete proof of any of this, but it serves to add more fuel to the fire of what's going on here and what Donald Trump might be trying to cover up. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I was going to say I'd like to see some citations and so on. I know that in a brief video thing like that, he's not exactly putting up screenshots of correspondence with people within the publishing company that will testify to this. So we're just taking him at his word that he has gotten this information. But I'll take it at that level now. That does seem that would be the conclusion I would at least start to approach, maybe not reach, but I would definitely approach that. And based on the other information that Mr. Wolf has offered regarding the real reason why Trump and Epstein had a falling out, which was it wasn't about Epstein going after young women at Mar-a-Lago. It was about a property. And, Trump thought that Epstein had stabbed him in the back over it. I mean, that fits Trump's MO perfectly. And the other thing that strikes me is, I don't know if you saw this party that they just had at Mar-a-Lago, this presidential
party, right?
Yeah, this thing. And I don't know, I came in a little bit late, but I was going to play some on my show tomorrow night. I don't know if what you thought about it, but I was like, nah, I don't think I'll be playing that. These women, whatever, maybe I'll show up, but it just shows that Mr. Trump's Mr. Christian faux Christian thing. Right. He's got women, dancing in G-strings and high leather boots, and he's the president of the United States. You're just like, dude, do you think maybe, just maybe, you think you've got the Christians in your back pocket and you can do anything you want? And they're not even protesting. They're not upset that Donald Trump is doing all this stuff that if their kids were in that room, they would walk them out immediately. Yeah. And his character is so dirty. It has always been dirty. He has never cared about other individuals. He doesn't care about the individual on a philosophical level. He's not religious. He stands for gaining through corrupt ties and getting and acquiring as much as possible. And all the people who are associated with him, whether it's egotism like Pete Hegseth or wanting to become president like Marco Rubio, or it's the people like his Treasury Secretary and his ties with Soros, they're all that mindset. They're all like that. They're all within that, build it up with the corporate sphere. We're in the elite group and we can do whatever we want. And we'll shove it in people's faces, just like the G-string women at the party,
just like that.
So I think it does make sense and I apologize if Melania Trump doesn't have that sort of background, but the information that I'm starting to see seems to indicate that there's a lot more there that we never knew.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And this might be part of it. I mean, I think there's a lot more to this than just this angle, but I think it might be a part of the broader picture that we should look at, and everybody should know, right? These are the people that they want to know everything about you, right? They want to have all your records. They want to have everything lined up down to your DNA. We should be able to know everything about them in the process.
Oh man. And what you brought up a little bit earlier about, getting our data, the immigration stuff, working with Palantir. There's a really good piece, and I put it inside my news notes for over at my Substack today at I call it the Sunday News Assembly. It's just something free that we put out, and I try to put some stuff together on Saturday nights. But it's this organization, and we've heard a lot about them working with Palantir. But documents offer rare insight into ICE's close relationship with Palantir, the facial recognition stuff. And you probably have heard, Billy Ray, about how they're just going up and taking pictures of people now. And they're putting the ICE guys are taking photographs of people. And then they're doing that smash thing where they know that people are following them in their cars, honking their horns. So they speed up and then they stop quick. And in many states, if you're the following car and you bash into the back of another car, you're always at fault because they say that you didn't stop quick enough. You were trailing too closely. So then they get out of the ICE vehicles and they pull these people out of the vehicles, and then they manhandle them.
Yeah, man.
It's just incredible. And again, here's another little segment that if people think that the feds can go into these states, then again, if somebody votes because they think they're going to vote for someone for Congress or for the Senate or for the president, ergo, logically, they must think that the constitutional rules stand for something because they're voting to fill the seats, right? That's point one. Point two is, if so, then what? It's an if-then statement. It's a logic chain. Then you follow what is in the Constitution and you don't be a buffet constitutionalist. Therefore, immigration, not a federal purview. Therefore, you can't go into the states unless you're invited in per Article 4, Section 4, not the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act is a statute. Statutes are subservient to the Constitution. The president can't just say, there's an insurrection, we're going in. And then the point that I've made on my show is they've got this really blurry line because they've got these courthouses, the federal courts, and they say, oh, we're going in to protect the federal courts now. If we lose in all the other arguments, we'll say we're going in to protect the federal courts. So you got to let us in. Well, again, if people bother to read the Constitution, I don't want to sound pedantic, but those are the rules. I don't vote to fill these offices. I just read the Constitution and tell people, if you're going to vote, here's what you might want to think about. So the federal government is only allowed to own 3 forms of land: a 10 square mile area for the capital, which they chose to be Washington, D.C., territories before they become states, and military garrisons. And even somebody in a comment we split off one of my segments for Liberty Conspiracy and did a separate video that has that in there. He said, so essentially what we're seeing is these federal courthouses that they say they're there to protect aren't really established constitutionally because they're on state land. They're supposed to be under. So the only way you can have a constitutional federal court building is if it's in Washington, D.C., if it's in a territory, or if it's on land in a military garrison. The only other ways they could do it is if they rent land from the states, which is actually how they did it through the 1800s. But then they started to claim the land. So what we're seeing as their final outpost for their defense to be able to go into these states without an invite from the states. They're supposed to have an invite to be able to go in to suppress violence or any of those things. They have not gotten an invite. J.B. Pritzker has said, you're not invited. Same thing with the governor of California. He said, we don't want you here. The governor of Oregon said, we don't want you here. They explicitly said, we don't want you here. That is a reference, although it's not direct, to Article 4, Section 4. And people can read it. It's not up to the federal government to say there's an insurrection. And their last excuse is to say, well, we're going in to protect the buildings. Well, that's fuzzy too, because the buildings themselves don't even really have a constitutional argument to be there. And again, it sounds sticky and it sounds sort of pedantic or didactic or something like that. But as an anarchist, I just try to bring it up to people and say, look, if you're having a problem with it, they let you amend the Constitution. If you don't like it, then amend it to make it work right, the way you want it to work. But they won't do it because, they can't act fast enough.
Right. No, absolutely, man. Thank you for breaking that down. We are 137 strong. Thank you for everybody who tuned in today. We appreciate you. Guard Goldsmith, thank you for taking the time to come see us. Say what's up to the people. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, man. So my X feed is at Guard Goldsmith, G-A-R-D, Goldsmith. And I should mention that although my last name sounds Jewish, it's not. It's an English name. So I went to Boston University and I got to meet a lot of the so-called Jewish American princesses. Once they found out I wasn't Jewish, I couldn't date them anymore. It was quite an interesting experience. Happened more than once. And so anyway, yeah, and I used to hear the Zionist arguments all the time. The stuff they would say about the Palestinians was really bad. But you can also find me Monday through Friday over at Liberty Conspiracy on Rumble. We stream on the X as well, 6 o'clock Eastern time. And go over to the channel, check out my Substack too. My Substack is every day for the paid subscribers. There's news updates and a lot of this scholarship and stuff in there too.
All right. Fantastic, man. Thank you so much. Hold on, Guard. Don't go anywhere. Steve, what's up? Steve Swan. Is this being streamed somewhere other than X? It is. I have a YouTube channel now. There's only about 10 people over there, I think, but we're growing every single day.
I was looking for the YouTube channel, and what's that under?
Guerrilla Underground. Yeah, I'm going to send it to you, Guard. So you got to look. There's several Guerrilla Underground. It's going to be a struggle until we get to 1,000 subs, if we ever do that. Once we get to 1,000 subs, we'll become more visible. Until then, it's going to be a struggle. But you look for Guerrilla Underground on YouTube, and it's the one with the black gorilla head silhouette, and we have a green hue around it. That's me. And then if you click on that, you'll see me there. So there's only 2 videos up right now, this being the second one. And so if you so choose to go over there, Steve Swan, I'd appreciate you. Everybody that's over there, thank you so much. Anybody that's subscribed, I appreciate it. Everybody in the chat right now, thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for putting up with with my coughing and everything else tonight. I really don't feel very hot. I got to go to work tomorrow. But I'm very happy that Guard was able to join us here today, and I think we got a lot done. So thank you so much, Guard. I appreciate you. Liberty Conspiracy, make sure you guys get over there. And that's every weekday, during dinner. So I like to throw them on while I'm cooking and listen to Guard. Always good information. that Guard puts out. He puts a lot of effort into his show. Make sure you go over there and support. And over here is the Gorilla Underground on my X at Obi-Wan, you know me on X, and of course Gorilla Underground on YouTube. I'm on Blue Sky, but I have put absolutely nothing up over there. It says Gorilla Underground. You can just go subscribe if you wish. If you're over there, eventually I'll put stuff over there, and we'll get the advertising wing of this going a little bit to try to gain some more viewers. But until then, you can catch me where you're going to catch me. All right, everybody be good. I will see you next week, Lord willing. Take it easy now. All right, bye-bye. Hold on, Guard.